Hi, welcome to Friday Night Chats with Garage Geek. So it was another long, stressful week. I don't know about you. It just seems like every week is stressful, right? So let's go ahead and let's just kind of pause and take a breath. The week is over. The weekend is coming up. So that's nice. I hope everyone had at least something nice that they were thankful for this week. I watched a couple movies, not too many this week. So I watched, I think it was last weekend, I watched the new Netflix movie, Lou. And before I watched it, I looked at the reviews because there were about 3 or 4 new movies, and I wanted, to watch the best one. I didn't read what it was about. I just looked at the overall reviews, and almost all the new movies got really bad reviews, like really bad, except for Lou, and it was mixed. And so I thought, well, if it's mixed, then there's going to be, at least something good about it. So we went ahead and watched it, and I was pleasantly surprised, right? I guess my expectations weren't very high, but I really enjoyed it, right? It's nothing new or original. So it's basically 2 people trying to track down a third, right? So the premise is someone kidnaps one of the daughters of one of the leads, and then both of them go on the hunt, and one of them is more experienced. I'm not explaining this very well. The reason I'm trying not to explain it, because I don't want to give too much away. But anyways, the 2 leads are really good. So it was Allison Janney from West Side Story, right? She's done a lot of things, right? West Side Story. From West Wing. And she was really good in the lead. I really liked her performance. She was believable. And the other lead was Journey Smollett. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but she was one of the leads on Lovecraft Country. She was also really good. I just thought it was a really good movie. It's on Netflix, right? If you're going into it, it's like an action adventure movie, right? And so yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. Another movie that I watched this week, the only other one really, was the DC League of Super Pets, right? Which is an animated movie. Again, I didn't know much about it. My husband wanted to watch it, so we sat down and watched it, and I was, again, pleasantly surprised. It's a really good movie. It's a good animated movie. Lots of fun. So many voices in this that you'll recognize, and so I went into it not knowing who they were, and so that's bad for me, because then I spend half the time thinking, whose voice is that? I know that voice, right? So I'll just give the 2 leads away, right? It's Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, as Crypto, right? Superman's dog. And then Kevin Hart is another dog in the movie. So yeah, I really liked it. Make sure you stay tuned after the credits, because there's another scene which I think is really good, and it ties into DC movies. So I like that extra scene, because it was like a parody of something that's going on with the DC universe now. So that was fun. I watched a couple episodes of She-Hulk. I'm not caught all the way up. Now, so many people are complaining. I don't pay any attention to that, but so many people are complaining that they don't like the show. I'm actually enjoying the show. The CG, is that what it's called? CGI? The CG? Anyways, the special effects, right, done with computer. It is hard to look at. Right? You just have to get that out of your mind, right? When you look at the character of She-Hulk, it's just weird to look at. It's not so convincing. However, if you can get past that, the story's really good. Now, I read the John Byrne comics when I was growing up, and also there was another version by David Slott. I think it's Dan Slott. Okay, Okay, sorry, I'm forgetting. So there were 2 different runs of She-Hulk that I think they're taking a lot from. So one, she is, what do they call it, crossing the 4th wall? Is that how you call it? Breaking the 4th wall. So she talks to the audience a lot. And John Byrne did that in his run of her comics. And then focusing on her as a lawyer, I believe Dan Slott did that. And that that Dan Slott run is really good. I recommend it. It came out in collected in 2 volumes. I read both of them. I have both. They're really good. I hope that the show will do more of her lawyer cases. Some of them are really interesting, right? It brings to life superhero law, and it just, and some of it's nuanced. I think if the show continues to focus on some of the legal cases that superheroes encounter, I think it could really develop into a good show. As it is, they are doing some of that. Yeah, but I just think it needs to find its legs. I hope that the audience in the studio will give it a chance, right? Because it's getting so many mixed reviews and bad reviews. I'm worried that it won't get another season, and that would be an injustice, right? So many shows, they're not able to find their legs like they used to, right? It used to take some shows a couple of seasons before they hit their stride, right? I mean, classic is Seinfeld. The first 1 or 2 seasons not very good, and then after that it hits its stride. And I think the same was like that for Friends. I mean, so many shows, but so many shows these days are only given a first season, and then after that they're pulled. I did watch the 4th episode. Oh gosh, I should have written down the name. It's the Game of Thrones show, the new Game of Thrones show, Keys to the Kingdom. Anyways, it's the Game of Thrones show, and I watched the 4th episode. I'm a couple behind, and man, the whole thing was sex. It was just sex after sex. I mean, and that's not bad in and of itself, but it got boring, and it just kept going on and on. Now, luckily, the last either 3rd or so was very good, but everything leading up to that, you need it for the next part, but it got tiresome. So I wish they had done the first part of the episode a little bit differently. Okay, so let's talk about some books. I really listened to My Name is Lucy Barton, which is by Elizabeth Strout. Now, book was very good, and it's super short. So the audio was only 4 hours, so it's like a really, really short book that you can get done quickly, and I highly recommend it. So it's a first-person narrative, and I love those, and it's about a woman who is reconnecting with her mother. And the characters are really drawn well. I recommend it. Now, the reason I started reading it, there's 2 reasons actually, is because it's a trilogy, I guess, and only 2 are out now, and the next one I think is going to come out soon. But the second one, called Old William, which is a sequel to this book, is nominated for the Booker Prize this year. And so I figured, why not, get caught up. I've actually taken a break from some of the more serious literature. It was just, over the summer, I got busy with YouTube and everything, and so I kind of took a break. And I don't usually listen to audiobooks during the summer, and reading just becomes a problem. Like, I love to read, but it's finding the time for it. But when I drive to and from work, it's really easy to listen to audiobooks for me. So I started the second book, and it's really good so far. It's more of the same, and I love the first one so much. And so it's moving in a different direction, right? Because it focuses on a different character. So I'm looking forward to that. And I knew Elizabeth Strout before this because I had read Olive Kitteridge. I highly recommend that book if no one's read it. And also there's a series, and not a series, it was, what do you call it? Like a mini-series. There's a mini-series on, I believe, HBO, and it had Frances McDermott in the lead, and she's always good, right? So that series is good, but I think it's better to read the book and then watch the series. They complement each other, and such a good book. I don't think I mentioned it, but about 2 weeks ago, I finished Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. Now, Ray Bradbury is such a good writer. Now, he's often pigeonholed as a children's writer or science fiction writer, but I just want to say he's a good writer, period. Right? He doesn't need to be pigeonholed. But anyways, Something Wicked This Way Comes was kind of a sequel to Dandelion Wine. Dandelion Wine is really good. There are so many beautiful passages in Dandelion Wine, and there's some episodes that really stay with you. Like there were a couple that long after the book is over, you just kind of think about them because he wrote them so well. Now, Something Wicked This Way Comes is a sequel in a sense, right? Because Dandelion Wine is, they both take place in the same town. In fact, there are 2 other books as well that go in this trilogy, but then he wrote a couple of short stories later in life that went with this, I guess. So I hope to read them all. Anyway, so Dandelion Wine was about the summer and then like coming of age. And then this book is also about 2 kids from that same town who are going through a traumatic process as they're coming of age, right? Because this creepy carnival comes to town. Now, there are so many interesting themes. I really don't want to tell you a lot of the things that happen, but I've seen merry-go-rounds used in movies and in other novels, and Bradbury used a merry-go-round in this in a very interesting way, and I don't think I've ever heard another author use it this way, and except for what I'm about to say. Now, reading Something Wicked This Way Comes, I immediately thought of Stephen King. Now, and of course, Ray Bradbury came first. Now, it's so obvious that Ray Bradbury was a huge influence on Stephen King. And then afterwards, I looked it up, and he actually has a short story in his series Dance Macabre that pays homage to Ray Bradbury and Something Wicked This Way Comes. This Way Comes. This book has been so influential for so many writers. But anyways, there were so many things that I immediately thought of Stephen King because he does a lot of the same things, right? And Stephen King used the idea of that merry-go-round, but with bicycles. Okay, so it was the same thing. So if you know the scene, then maybe you can guess what the merry-go-round does. But anyways, there was these really interesting themes like good and evil, light and dark, youth versus old age, or not versus, but youth and old age. So such a good book. If you haven't read Ray Bradbury, you should ask me for some suggestions in the comments, and I will give you a couple of short stories to read. But hey, start with Dandelion Wine. It's actually almost like short stories, to be honest with you. Each chapter is like vignettes in the lives of the people in the town, but they're all tied together. All right. So we're almost done with books. So of course, I've been talking about how I've been reading Paradise Lost because I did an album review of Grant Hart's album called The Argument, which which used Paradise Lost and quotes as inspiration. So this week I actually didn't get much read. But what I did read, I only read a little, and that was enough because just dipping into this, I felt like the power of his language. It's so good. And I probably shouldn't do this, but I just want to read one quote. Okay? And I'm not going to do it justice. I might have to read it a couple times just to make it sound right. Oh, so this is Satan, and he's in the Garden of Eden, and he's getting ready to destroy Adam and Eve, right? And so he's plotting it. And he says, "Live while you may, yet, happy pair, enjoy till I return. Short pleasures for long woes are to succeed." Now, of course, I didn't read that very well. I would like to try to read it again, but I won't do that to you. Just in my brain, that sounded amazing. Not the way I said it. There's just so many lines in this poetry that jumps out at you, that is so well written, that there's a play on language. Oh, fair foundation laid, whereon to build their ruin. Again, he's talking about how the foundation of the Garden of Eden is so beautiful and fair, and that whole foundation was built for him to bring them to their downfall. Okay, I'm not going to read anymore. I'm just saying, even though I was only able to read about 5 to 10 pages this week, it was still inspiring. Such beautiful language. Okay, I got 2 books in the mail. So, carrying on with the Paradise Lost theme, I got Dore's illustrations for Paradise Lost. And I was actually surprised at how expensive this was. This was $15 on Amazon, because I always remember the Dovers being $9.95. And, I mean, these things are always around, right? And since I'd been reading Paradise Lost, I was looking for a good art book that contained most of Dore's illustrations, because they're so beautiful. But I couldn't find any really good YouTube videos that would go over like the best version of his books to buy. And I already knew Dover, and I knew what I was getting, so I went ahead and bought it, right? But I mean, the paper quality is what it is. It's not horrible. In fact, I think it's better than it used to be. It used to be like a newspaper-ish paper, and this is actually pretty white. But I believe he worked on wood etchings, and so when you, I'll grab a nice one. This is one of my favorite scenes. So this is Satan going to the gates of hell, and I talked about this one last time. There's no way that he portrayed it the way that it's actually done in the book, but I mean, look at this art. I just love the way he uses the darkness and the light to highlight things. So for example, like this one, there's a lot of light here and then so much darkness in the back. So I would like to get a nice art book of Dore with all of his stuff, because if I buy all the Dover, I mean, that would be a small fortune, right? Because he actually illustrated so many great works of literature. So if you know, any of you out there know of a good Dover that has this art, oh, it's just so beautiful. It's just so nice to look at, right? So if you know, let me know in the comments, because like I said, I watched many YouTube videos and I couldn't find anything. So I'm gonna cough, right? You know, I'm a teacher, so I used my voice a lot this week. Oh, those kids were being bad this week. So anyways, so I talked about Paradise Lost. I didn't make any headway in this book, although, I mean, it's a kid's book. I need to finish it. I'm going to finish it this weekend. And I ordered this, and it came in the mail. So a friend of mine was saying how she wouldn't mind reading this, and so I said, okay, I'll buy it just in case you want to read it together. She didn't end up buying it, but hey, that's okay. So I bought this for the month of October. So I'm gonna jump into Washington Irving's short stories, and of course everyone knows Headless Horseman, which I've read, and I think there's also the one about the guy who sleeps under the tree. What's his name? How could I forget that? What is his name? The Rumpelstiltskin? No, that's not Rumpelstiltskin. Ichabod Crane, hold on. Oh, Rip Van Winkle, duh. How could I forget that? So anyways, Rip Van Winkle, who, you know, sleeps under the tree and wakes up like 100 years later. So I'm actually looking forward to reading this, and this isn't just a book of short stories that was randomly thrown together. This is actually a book of short stories that was published, and so it's intact. It was published, and it has notes and everything by him. So this is actually nice. It's not really it's a compendium, but it was a compendium of the time. It's like an actual book. So I've already got like 3 or 4 books that I'm setting aside for Halloween. Some that I started last year and I didn't finish. So this is going to October 1st. This is when I'm starting it. I bought a couple magazines that I want to share. So this one came in the mail, so it actually came a little bit bent up. I mean, it sucks when you buy something new and it comes bent like that. I mean, look at that. But I bought this for the cover art. Now, I am not a fan of like the Vampirella, any of those, and it's not because of experience. It's because I've never read any. I've just never been attracted, I wonder why, to, you know, this kind of like overtly sexual type of art and writing. But you can't deny that is gorgeous, that art. And so I talked about another magazine that I had gotten recently, and it was this one. It was called Shudder. And this is by a magazine company called Warrant. And what they're trying to do, like I said, is they are trying to mimic the horror magazines of the 70s. And they do a phenomenal job. Now, they're only like 5 or 6 stories per magazine. They're all 5 to 6 pages. It's like they have their formula, right? And you're gonna, if you look through this, you're gonna see that there's a mummy story, there is a science fiction story, there was a vampire story. No, that was a vampire story. That was a werewolf. Sorry, that was a werewolf story. This was a zombie ghost story. See, like, I mean, that's what I mean. This is the kind of art you have to look forward to. Like, I don't want to see that. So it's very sexualized for a certain type of audience. But again, they're harking back to that type of 70s magazine. So basically what I'm saying is they have a formula, and in one issue, you're going to like run the gamut. You're going to have werewolves, vampires, ghosts, mummies, science fiction. Like, they're going to try to hit every subgenre, and they do. And are the stories fun? They're silly, they're fun, they're predictable. Right? This is the one about the mummies, the Egyptian. So, I mean, but that's half the fun of reading this stuff. It's like horror fluff. And the writing is fine, the art is fine. I'm saying, I really think that people should check these magazines out. Like, they're not expensive. They're $5.95 for, you know, a nice magazine with a beautiful cover, with beautiful cover art. I'm really plugging this Warrant magazine company. I think they're doing a great job, and I think you should check this series out. Okay, when I was at the supermarket the other day, I saw this. Now, this is a series of magazines put out by Life magazine, and they're quite costly, right? They're $15, if you can see that. They're $15. But the reason I thought this was interesting is they have a lot of real photos of the area, and they have tons of art. And last summer, I went to Salem, and I wanted to do a video about my experiences of traveling there and what I saw and what I did, because it was an up and down experience. And then, you know, tie it into this. So I was gonna, you know, start reading this over the weekend and feature that in a video. So if you think that's something interesting that you think would be worth your while, would you please let me know in the comments? I'm kind of iffy because, you know, some of these videos I make, they're a lot of work, and I don't mind it because I enjoy it, and then I don't get very many views, and of course that's always, you know, a little bit disheartening, right, after all the work. Okay, and what have I been listening to? So I made a video early in the week, I think, about some albums that I bought, and I wasn't able to listen to them all yet, but I did listen to 2. So I listened to this Mantovani, Latin Rendezvous. And I thought it would be just silly, right? Some of these albums are. But no, it's very, very good. And I know it's orchestra music, right? It's that Nurse Ratched mental institute type of music. But no, this stuff is really, really good. And I just wish more people would give it a try. I want to make a video where I have a shout out to heavy metal or death metal people. And I want to try to convince them to listen to this and to enjoy it. I got to think of that because I really want to try to expand people's horizons to listen to this type of music because number one, it's cheap. Number two, it's beautiful background music. And number three, it's great mood music. So more people need to take advantage of and look at that gorgeous cover. More people need to take advantage of this. So another album that I listened to that I bought was this album by Pretty Things. I really like the sleeve. That's the reason I bought it. So like you get both eyes. And then on the inside, the eyes are closed. And on the sleeve, this is so pretty. It's an eyeball on both sides. It's so cool. So I went ahead and listened to this one. And it's a good album, a really good album. So I'm definitely going to be doing an album overview of this one soon. It's really nice. Those are the two albums I listened to. Of course, I listened to Robert Fripp a lot this week because I made the video, right? And so that was by, so Mike at T-Cat. It's always hard for me to remember this, but I forgot it last time, and I felt bad. So I'm going to remember it. It's Mike at T-Cat's Deep Vinyl Tracks, or T-Cat's Deep Wax Tracks. Deep Tracks Wax. It's something like that. Sorry, Mike. I don't know why. I have trouble with names. Even with my students, right? I have trouble with names, remembering names. So I listened to Robert and like I said, that in the review, that album is really interesting. It's got it's very experimental in some places, very beautiful in others. Like I said, it's not an album to listen to when you want to relax, but it really is interesting and experimental. One of the YouTubers I follow is called Square the Circle, and he made 2 videos this week or recently. One of them was his favorite funk albums, and then another one was his the best Camel songs. Now I got to be careful because, hold on, my nose is itching. I have to be careful because I get can and camel mixed up, which that's not good. But I'm pretty sure it was the best Camel song. So I made 2 playlists and I've been listening to those. Not seriously. Right now it's just as background music as I'm reading. So I'm going to continue to listen to those over the weekend. In fact, if you can hear any music in the background, it's because it's the I'm playing one of those funk albums now. I hope I won't get copyright because I've got it really low. I don't know if you can hear it. Imagine if I get copyright struck, that means I have to like delete this whole video from YouTube. Oh, that was something else I did this like last week. I went through all my videos and I deleted all the copyright parts, and I even deleted some videos that were all copyright. And I did that because I want to, for a couple of reasons. Later, I do want to try to get monetized. I mean, I'm really far from it now. But I also don't want to use other people's, material without their permission. I mean, they're giving me permission, but I shouldn't do that. And so I have to learn to play by the rules that YouTube gives me, right? And so if I'm allowed to use a 9-second clip and I can't use extended clips for movies, well, then I need to stick by those rules, right? Or, get the copyright claim. So anyways, Square the Circle, if you haven't watched him, he's kind of fun. He just sits and kind of like what I'm doing right now. He just rambles and talks about all his music, and it's actually interesting because he knows a lot about music, especially prog. He likes to talk about prog music a lot, and it was funny because in his funk albums he had a slap-o-meter, and he was like, "Oh, this album gets 4 slaps," and then he'd show a picture of Will Smith slapping. Oh my gosh, I'm tired, right? I can't even remember who he slapped. Chris Rock. It was kind of funny, the slap-o-meter. And I think that brings me to everything I wanted to say. I talked about books, movies, music. I mean, maybe I could talk about what I'm going to do this weekend. Oh, that's right. So, Jason the Old Millennial put out an 8-question vinyl. An 8-question movie challenge. And so, I'm thinking that I'm going to make a video response, like all 8 questions, but I'm also going to try to do it with concerts, because I want to mix the movies with the music. And so as I was watching the videos, I thought, well, I could respond to an answer with movies, but then I can also talk about a concert that I've been to. So I'm going to try that, right, to kind of marry the two. And then, oh my gosh, I wrote it down. Mike from T-Cat's Deep Track Wax. That's it. I wrote it down. Mike from T-Cat's Deep Track Wax. And I actually really like the videos because sometimes the cat's walking behind them or in front of them. It's really cute. Oh, and he also made a video with his wife where they talk about their influences. And that was a really cute video. I liked it. I enjoyed that one a lot. But anyways, an old video is he made an inclusion video. And so he made up 20 questions for even the dumbest YouTuber out there. Because I guess he was upset because people come on and they don't know what vinyl is, and they make all kinds of weird comments. So anyways, he made up 20 questions that are wholly inclusive. No matter what kind of vinyl you own, or if you even own any vinyl, anybody can take part in this contest. So I'm going to make that video this weekend as well. So thank you for sticking around and listening to me ramble again on a Friday night. I look forward to this weekend. I've got a bunch of things to do. I've got a bunch of videos to make, a bunch of music to listen to, a bunch of books to read. So I'm going to go ahead and start enjoying it. My husband already picked out a movie for us to watch tonight. I think it's called Father Stew. It's got Marky Mark. What's his name? The actor. Mark Wahlberg. I actually really like him as an actor. I think he always does a good job, at least a minimum good job in his acting. So I'm kind of looking forward to that movie tonight. So I'll be able to report on that one next week. But anyways, like I said, thank you for sticking around. I really appreciate if you would comment on a couple of things from the video, because I love to know what you like, so that I could go ahead and focus on those type of things. Like if you like the books, or if you like the music, or you like the movies and the shows, please let me know. And again, thanks for sticking around, and everybody have a great weekend.